How you doing? Okay, today, Bruno, this is Bruno. Bruno is not a vegan dog, but I'm going to talk a little bit about an aspect of vegetarianism or vegan eating style today. Bruno does not really like vegetables. I've tried to give it to him. Right, Bruno? Do you like tell- huh? Do you like vegetable? He doesn't like vegetable. Okay. Well, what I wanted to talk about, you go to a lot of, or you look at a lot of the YouTube sites, and they give you the impression that the vegan diet is the healthiest eating style. And not only that, but the one aspect that's interesting about all that is they lead you to believe that if you follow a vegan eating style, it'll increase your longevity. You'll be able to live longer. Well, that's a source of contention in the scientific literature. But all things being equal, I just want to say right from the start, a properly balanced vegan eating style, and you'll understand what I mean by properly balanced in a couple of minutes. But if you do it correctly, it really is an excellent way to eat. Of course, you have to. One of the definite requirements is that you have to like eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, which is kind of eliminates me because I'm not a big fruit and vegetable eater. Although, strangely enough, in the last couple of years, I've kind of veered towards a semi-vegetarian diet. I cut out red meat a couple of years ago, mainly for ethical reasons, because I had done some research on grass-fed beef. And when I found out how cows are treated on the so-called, what do they call them? Not dairy farms, factory farms. It's horrible, horrible the way cows are treated, and other animals too. But I had been meaning to cut meat out for a while because of that, and I finally did. So I don't eat red meat anymore. I still eat a little bit of chicken. I eat eggs, not every day, but the rest of my diet, believe it or not, is actually vegetables and fruits. So in a way, you could say I'm kind of semi-vegetarian. Of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger goes around now. He says that he's become a vegetarian. Um, I guess I'm not sure of his reasoning. He also cites the ethical reasons and the nutrient reasons that it's better for you. Uh, but I would argue that meat is not quite as bad as the vegan advocates portray it. The latest studies that I've looked at related to beef and health show that unprocessed fresh beef is not really associated with any diseases at all. As a matter of fact, it can actually be very healthy. The bad type of beef is processed beef, like hot dogs and the processed meats. Those things are definitely unhealthy. Those type of meats are associated with certain types of cancer, such as it seems to promote colon cancer. However, I'm not talking about meat today. Today, I want to talk about this one aspect of vegan eating, in the sense, will vegan eating extend your life? Now, I should also tell you that the calorie restricted diets that some people follow based on animal studies of various species, which show that the only type of diet shown to extend life or maximize lifespan, I should say, in animals is a calorie restricted diet, which usually involves a caloric reduction of at least 30 to 35% and up to 40% of your usual daily calorie intake. It's too tough for humans to follow. When they've tried to put humans on this diet, most people can't handle it. In fact, the one study, I remember they started out with a 25% caloric reduction. It was supposed to be long term for humans, but it turns out none of the people in the study could handle more than 12% calorie reduction. They could not handle 25% for an extended time. There are people that do. In fact, there's a group called the Calorie Restriction Society, and these people really do live on 30, 35%. They're all thin. They tend to be very thin. The guys have very tiny muscles because of the lack of anabolic hormones in a calorie restricted diet. Your testosterone goes down to nothing, although IGF-1 is not affected, strangely enough. But in any case, what the studies show is that these people have very, very good health profiles. They have low resting insulin, low blood pressure, good lipid levels, such as cholesterol. And of course, they're very lean. A lot of that could have to do with the fact that they have low body fat levels from eating such a stringent diet. But the point I'm trying to make in talking about them is that the diet they follow is a vegan diet. So you can see the association there between consuming a vegan diet and long life. These people think that if they follow a highly restricted vegan diet, they will make it to 100 or over. But I have bad news for them. I'm sure these people must be aware of this, but I mean, I know they want to be healthy, but to really make it to over 100, you have to have a genetic component involved. It's not just your eating style. People that live to over 100 are what I call genetic mutants. They have an increased ability to repair DNA damage to their cells, no matter what they do. A lot of these people never exercise. They don't follow any particular diet. They're usually very small. They're like 5 feet tall. And they live a long time because they have an increased super ability to repair damaged cells. This doesn't exist in most people. And no matter what kind of diet you follow, unless you have that kind of freak of nature situation, you're not going to make it to over 100. It's just not going to happen unless you have the genetics for it. I don't care what anyone says. I'll argue that point with anyone. Although there's things in the works right now, even certain food supplements, such as the supplements that increase NAD, resveratrol, supplements that increase sirtuins, which are cell-protecting proteins. These, coupled with good lifestyle habits such as exercise and staying lean, they might actually make people who don't have the genetic tendencies to live over 100 to make it to 100, but nobody knows this. Right now, it's still speculation, because nobody has really tested this so far. You'd have to follow somebody from, let's say age 40 to 100, and there's no study that's going to do that. But let's get back to the facts concerning whether a vegan diet extends lifespan. As I said, the vegan diet is linked to a range of health benefits, including a lower risk of obesity, type 2 diabetes, certain cancers, and heart disease. Since heart disease and cancer, in that order, are the two top killers of human beings, it stands to reason that anything that lowers the risk for them is going to help you live longer. So right away, in that aspect, following a vegan diet can actually probably extend lifespan if you do it correctly. Again, you have to use a balanced vegan diet that includes all the necessary nutrients. If you don't have the nutrients, no matter how many vegetables you eat, it's not going to help you extend your lifespan. A 2012 study that examined mortality in vegans. I keep saying vegans. Isn't vegan? I guess vegan would be somebody who lives in Las Vegas. I got to get out of that habit. Vegan. A 2012 study that examined mortality in vegans looked at 7 studies that had 124,706 participants and found that all-cause mortality in vegetarians was 9% lower than in non-vegetarians. That included an 18% lower death rate from cancer. So, cancer seems to be the one disease that consuming a vegan diet seems to help protect against. I think the reason for that has to do with probably the lower fat intake involved with a vegan diet. Also, the fact that the vegan diet, if it's followed properly, is very top heavy in protective nutrients, such as antioxidants and other nutrients that actually have been shown to prevent cancer. So that explains why following a vegan diet will help prevent cancer. Another study examined 96,469 Seventh-day Adventists in North America. The Seventh-day Adventist diet is typically plant-based, rich in whole foods and free of alcohol and caffeine. They don't drink alcohol. They don't drink coffee, although some may incorporate small amounts of eggs, dairy, or meat. So they're not strictly vegans, but most of their diet is plant-based. The study suggested that vegetarians and vegans may benefit from a 12% lower risk of death compared with people who eat meat. But for some reason, the health benefits appear to be greater for men than women. I should also point out that the diet that I think is the very best type of eating style of all for longevity and health, which is known as the Mediterranean diet, consists largely of fruits, vegetables, a little bit of fish, beans, legumes, and that stuff. So the Mediterranean diet, which is probably the healthiest diet you can eat, is also largely plant-based. And then there's a ton of research to show that, by the way. In fact, the Mediterranean diet, the classic one, is the only diet that's actually been shown, other than caloric restriction, to maximize longevity in humans. It also prevents brain degeneration diseases such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. Now, not all studies have shown that eating a vegan lifestyle, I almost said vegan again, eating a vegan lifestyle will extend life. For example, a 2016 study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition examined 60,310 people composed of both vegans and non-vegans and found that there was no significant difference in overall or all-cause mortality between the diet groups. In other words, this study showed that whether you follow a vegan diet or not, it makes no difference whatsoever on mortality or the rate of death. Another 2017 study published in the journal Preventive Medicine looked at 243,096 participants and concluded that, this is what they said, we found no evidence that following a vegetarian diet, semi-vegetarian diet, or a pesco-vegetarian means that you only eat fish, no meat, has an independent protective effect on all-cause mortality. So that's another study showing that vegan diets have no effect on mortality. But there are aspects of vegan diets that can promote increased longevity. The higher fiber content and the rich source of antioxidant nutrients that exist only in plant foods is known to promote longevity by providing cellular protection. I'll give you an example of that. Broccoli, cruciferous vegetables, cabbage, this class again of cruciferous vegetables, they contain a substance called glucophanin, which is converted when you kind of chop up the vegetable or mix it into a substance called sulforaphane. So sulforaphane exists only in these vegetables. It's not found in any animal products. Sulforaphane is an extremely protective nutrient that, among other things, it actually it stimulates cellular processes that favor longevity. Also, in the liver, it stimulates a detoxifying system that helps to break down carcinogens that enter your body through the air and through food. Now, this particular nutrient, again, sulforaphane, is only available in plant foods, not in any animal foods. So if you don't eat those cruciferous vegetables, you're not getting sulforaphane, although they do have supplements now that do contain sulforaphane. They contain glucophanin, but they also contain myrosinase, which is the enzyme naturally found in cruciferous vegetables, which converts glucophanin into sulforaphane. Without the myrosinase, the glucophanin doesn't do a thing. It has to be converted by that enzyme. In addition, vegans are less likely to smoke or drink alcohol, have bad health habits like that. They also appear to be more likely to maintain a lower body fat level. It's hard to get fat when you're when you're eating only fruits and vegetables. I mean, they don't contain a lot of calories. You'd have to eat a ton of fruit and vegetables to get fat because they're not calorie dense. Most of them contain little or no fat. So again, because fat is the most concentrated source of calories at 9 per gram, fruits and vegetables do not contain a lot of calories. And they're also filling because of the high fiber content. The vegetarians also tend to be more into exercise, and they tend to avoid overly processed junk foods. A healthy vegan diet is typically defined as one that's rich in minimally processed plant foods, such as fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds, with very few processed junk foods. Other vegetarian products, such as soy-based veggie burgers, nuggets, and meat alternatives, are often highly processed with a long list of artificial ingredients. Those foods definitely are not involved with life extension or health. I mean, they're not that bad for you, but they're not going to help you from a health standpoint. In a 2016 study that compared looking at the health effects of a vegan eating style, the study authors wrote that vegetarians have a lower prevalence of overweight and obesity and a lower risk of ischemic heart disease compared with non-vegetarians from a similar background, whereas the data are equivocal for stroke. For cancer, there is some evidence that the risk for all cancer sites combined is slightly lower in vegetarians than in non-vegetarians, but findings for individual cancer sites are inconclusive. Vegetarians have also been found to have lower risk for diabetes, diverticular disease, and eye cataract. Overall mortality is similar for vegetarians and comparable non-vegetarians, but vegetarian groups compare favorably with the general population. The long-term health of vegetarians appears to be generally good, and for some diseases and medical conditions, it may be better than that of comparable omnivores. That's omnivore is a person who eats meat and a larger variety of foods. But vegans need, vegans need to be aware that eating in that manner can set you up for several nutrient deficiencies. I've talked about this in past videos, but just to reiterate, the nutrients most likely to be lacking in a vegan diet include vitamin B12, vitamin D, omega-3 fatty acids. Now, the vegans do get one type of omega-3 fatty acids called alpha-linoleic acid, or ALA. However, that's actually a precursor for the biologically active omega-3 fatty acids, which is known by the acronyms EPA and DHA. Those particular omega-3 fatty acids are only found in fatty fish, such as sardines, salmon, halibut, mackerel, and other fish. You can't get them out of fruits or vegetables. They do have special supplements that are targeted at vegans. It's usually made from algae, which is a type of seaweed, of course, and it does contain true DHA, which is one of the preformed marine, or when that marine meats found in fish, it's one of the preformed true omega-3 fatty acid. Other nutrients that could possibly be lacking in an unbalanced vegan diet include iodine, which is needed for thyroid function, iron, which is needed for the hemoglobin production in your red blood cells that deliver oxygen to your cells, calcium, which of course is needed for bone health, zinc, which is needed for the optimal immune function, for the production of hormones such as insulin, testosterone, growth hormone. Zinc is in the news lately because it turns out that zinc can actually deactivate the coronavirus that causes COVID-19. So it's a good idea to get zinc in your diet, and zinc is found primarily in animal protein foods. So again, a strict vegan. I'm not talking about a vegan who eats meat, who eats milk and eggs and that kind of stuff, who has some animal protein foods. A strict vegan who lives on fruits, vegetables, and nuts and seeds, they're going to have to get take a zinc supplement. Although zinc does exist in some of those foods, the problem is those foods also contain anti-nutrient substances such as phytic acid, which lock on to minerals such as zinc and calcium and cause them to just pass right through the body, so you don't get much benefit. Obtaining enough protein on a vegan diet can be problematic for athletes and bodybuilders. And I've talked about this in my Applied Metabolic newsletter, how vegans can get sufficient amounts of protein both from their food and from certain supplements. It's not that hard if you know what to do. And that article's in my Applied Metabolics newsletter. But with the advent of vegan-based protein supplements, such as that from soy, hemp, rice, and others, it's easily handled. There's no problem getting protein now if you're a vegan because of these protein supplements. You can easily get the amount of protein you need. And to be honest with you, you can also get all the protein you need just from eating vegan foods. But the problem is you'd have to eat a lot of it. If you're a bodybuilder athlete, because you require more protein, you'd have to eating a lot of food. And to a lot of people, that's just too much food to handle. And again, because of the fiber aspect, the foods will tend to fill you up where you can't eat anymore. So you might not get enough protein. And again, that's easily solved by any of these vegan or vegetable-based protein supplements. Now, you notice I mentioned soy. There's a lot of antipathy towards soy because of notions that it interferes with thyroid production, lowers testosterone, raises estrogen. Most of the things, these criticisms are based on dosage. In other words, if you eat a lot of soy, because it has substances in them called isoflavones, which are similar in structure to estrogens, theoretically, if you eat a lot of soy, like drink 3 quarts of soy milk or something like that, you will start to get an estrogen-like effect. However, small amounts of soy do not do that. Many studies have showed that men who consume soy protein do not get any estrogenic effect whatsoever. Soy does not lower your testosterone, contrary to what you might read on the web. Again, you'd have to eat a ton of soy to have that happen, and it never happens. There's no study showing that it lowers testosterone in men. And as far as the thyroid goes, that's the one aspect that's partially true. If you eat a lot of soy, even a modest amount of soy, and for the first 3 months, it might interfere with the production of thyroid hormone, because soy contains substances called goitrogens, which tend to block the uptake of iodine into the thyroid gland. Iodine is used for the manufacture of thyroid hormone, along with the amino acid tyrosine. I should also point out that the cruciferous vegetables that I mentioned earlier, such as Brussels sprouts and cabbage and broccoli, they also contain goitrogens. So theoretically, if you eat a lot of those foods, you can also have a thyroid imbalance. It can also happen if you drink about 5 or 6 quarts a day of green tea. It can also lower your thyroid. Now, what I do, I don't eat a lot of these stuff. I take I mentioned this before in other videos. The way I eat my vegetables is I kind of throw them in a special type of blender, and that chops up the vegetables. I put in a little water. I throw in an apple with the skin. I put in vegetables like broccoli, kale, chard, and spinach, and I mix it up and I drink it down, because it's the only way I can handle it. I don't like the taste of vegetables. I do this every day. It's not a lot of vegetables, probably equal to, I'd say, about maybe 3 or 4 servings of vegetables. The minimal amount of servings for health in reference to vegetables is 5 servings a day, but for optimal health, you actually have to have 10 servings a day. Now remember, a serving is just like 1 apple. It's not a lot of vegetables like it sounds like. But the point is, what I do is once a day, I take an iodine supplement. It contains 1,000 micrograms of iodine. I only take it once a day, away from the vegetables, and that's just for insurance. I do that just in case the broccoli, the goitrogens in the broccoli is interfering with thyroid production. I do that just in case. I also use a herbal supplement called ashwagandha, which I've talked about in a previous video. Ashwagandha stimulates the thyroid. It stimulates the conversion of the inactive T4 thyroid hormone into the active T3. And it's so potent in that effect that some people that have overdid the ashwagandha, meaning they took too much, have had what they call hyperthyroidism, where the thyroid was producing too much hormone. But again, that doesn't happen unless you overdo it. It's like they say, only the dose determines the poison. Everything in moderation. So that's about it for to sum it up. Vegan diets can be healthy if they're well balanced and they contain enough of the required nutrients. If you don't get them, if you don't supplement these nutrients, and you're a vegan, you're going to get in trouble sooner or later, and you're certainly not going to get longevity benefits. But again, aspects of the vegan diet do favor longevity. The longevity content, the antioxidant content, the lower calorie feature, plus the fact that it's also a clean diet. In other words, it has a high fiber. It goes in and out of your body. It doesn't leave any residues that'll hang around and cause problems. So again, a proper, well-balanced vegan diet is amenable to longer life. But I personally, based on the research I've done for this video, I don't think it's that much different than an omnivore diet. In other words, it might, unless it's a really bad omnivore diet where a person's eating a lot of junk, I think that a omnivore, a vegan, and a vegan will have about the same life span. The vegan diet will not substantially, contrary to what you hear on various websites, by these vegan advocates, it will not make you live to 90, 100 years old, and it will not block every disease. But it does help prevent the major killers, which is cardiovascular disease and cancer, which is a very good thing, because those are the 2 killers. Anything that reduces cardiovascular disease and cancer definitely will help you live longer. So that's about it. If you want to have more information and the most in-depth information on nutrition, exercise science, hormonal therapy, anti-aging research you can use today that might help you extend your life, fat loss techniques that really work, not this silly stuff, nutrition controversies, exercise science, supplements, which ones work, which ones don't. I'll tell you the truth in that regard because I'm not aligned with any food supplement company. So I have no axe to grind. I'm going to tell you the truth. And I'm not, and unlike when I wrote for the magazines, I could say exactly what I want to say. Nobody's going to stop me. And my Applied Metabolics newsletter is 100% truth and evidence based. I also impart my own experiences as a former bodybuilder and a person who's been involved in exercise and fitness for 57 years, which really can't be matched by anybody. That can't be matched. So again, subscribe today, www.appliedmetabolics.com. When you subscribe, I'll send you an invitation to join my private Applied Metabolics Facebook page, where each day I put new information about nutrition, exercise, and general health. I do have an email portal on my Applied Metabolics website, but that's exclusively for use by current subscribers who can send me short questions about something they might have read in the newsletter or something else that's on their mind. I'll be happy to answer. If you're a current subscriber, I don't answer unsolicited questions. You're welcome to leave questions or comments under this video, including suggestions for future videos. And that's about it. So, if you want to have your best friend you'll ever have, you saw my best friend, Bruno. I mean, we've kept each other company during this quarantine, this lockdown because of the coronavirus. He's a good friend to have around. I tried to get him a little mask, but I couldn't find one, Anyway, take care and stay healthy. Take care. Bye-bye.